the thumb without letting the thumb flex. It's very easy to flex at the MCP. Don't let it. So you need to make sure it stays neutral there because we're working on opposition. And then you measure the distance in centimeters between the IP and the palmar crease of digit 5. Okay, so I'm coming in at, looks like 1.4 centimeters. Normal is 0, although again, they have abnormal, so you don't use the 0 to 5 scale. Okay? So for adductor pollicis, just put a piece of paper between their thumb and index finger. If you can pull that piece of paper out, yeah, Victor, show us. So first I'm going to bring your thumb. There you go. I'm going to stick that in there. Don't want to do paper cut. Okay, hold on. We're going to tug of war. Oh, you failed. No, I'm just kidding. So hold it there. And I can't pull it out. Okay? You can always pull it out if you jerk it. He's not going to be able to hold it. And you do want to make sure you don't get a paper cut. Okay?
Normal or you want them like...
So yeah, just normal, abnormal. So adduction, you want to have that thumb sitting on top of the fingers. Yep. And then you would try to pull it out without tearing your notes page. Okay?
If you pulled the paper out, it would just be called abnormal.
Right. Okay. So you wouldn't use that 0 to 5 scale like we've been talking about. Now, Mom, what are you doing?
I'm writing a note.
He's laughing at that.
I don't want to know what your note says. Okay. So the abductor pollicis longus and brevis are backwards as far as where it attaches on the thumb. Okay? So the longus is the more proximal attachment and the brevis is the more distal attachment, and that's the opposite for extensor and flexor pollicis longus and brevis. So just remember that abductor, the thumb abductors are just weird across the board, right? It's not in the correct plane of motion. So remember that your abductor pollicis longus and brevis are also screwed up. The other thing that's weird about abductor pollicis longus and brevis is we have an attachment for longus on the metacarpal and on the brevis at the proximal phalanx. Okay, so that's backwards. But also, you get no abduction across the MCP joint. So the fact that we're going to resist on the proximal phalanx for brevis, we're trying to say that we're isolating those two, but we're still only getting abduction at the CMC joint. There is no abduction at the MCP joint. Is everyone following me? Okay, so finger, hand, please. Okay, don't let me push it down. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna win. Are you prepared?
You're never winning.
Okay.
Unless you use the full hand.
First of all, yeah! No, just kidding. Okay, so you're starting to cheat. So there you go. Okay, so for longus, I'm pressing on the metacarpal. And relax. Good job. Okay, now we're going to go back up. So we're testing full range of motion again. Now I'm going to be testing brevis. Okay, you're getting your extensors on. There you go. Hold it there. Don't let me push it down. So now I'm pressing on the proximal phalanx. I'm trying to not embarrass you.
I'm not going to do it.
Okay, and relax. All right, so what you saw is that the longus is going to extend the IP joint, and the brevis is going to extend the MCP joint. Okay? Am I going out of order? Sorry. I can do them in order. Okay. So the reason, why did I put his hand in this position for the manual muscle test?
Against gravity.
Because we're against gravity. Okay? So now what I want you to do is keeping your hand just like this, lift your thumb up in there. There you go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down here, and you don't let me. So what you saw me do is I automatically stabilized, go ahead and relax, I'm jabbing. I'm stabilizing the proximal segment and applying resistance to the distal segment, okay, and I'm testing extensor pollicis brevis right now. Oh, I can totally win. And relax. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and extend for me again. Now I've moved up where I'm stabilizing, and I want you to hold it there and don't let me bring it down.
Oh.
Okay. I had to win something. Okay.
So what would
So
the
now-
score be for that? Like,
Oh,
you-
6.
Abnormal? 6.
So you're gonna hold it there, and I'm gonna bring it down. Now you would expect that I would have leverage that I could win, so I was just being tough. Yeah, you would match your force, and you wouldn't actually do that to a patient that you cared about, right? Okay, so for flexion, I'm gonna bring you. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and bend it here too. Good. Okay, now come on back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on here, and I want you to try to keep this part straight. So now I'm testing flexor pollicis brevis. So go ahead and bend. Now I'm going to, don't let me straighten your thumb up. Hold it, hold it. And I'm getting a hand cramp. Okay, relax. So now if I'm going to test flexor pollicis longus, I'm now stabilizing the MCP, flex, and don't let me straighten it. And relax. Good. Okay, how I want you to remember these is for extensor and flexor, pollicis longus and brevis. For both the flexors and extensors, the brevis is going to flex and extend the MCP. So you're just going to isolate, stabilize proximally, then resist the motion across the MCP. The brevis is going to do flexion and extension respectively over the IP joint. I said that backwards. Sorry. Longus, sorry. Woo! Longus is going to flex and extend over the IP joint. Brevis is going to flex and extend across the MCP. And you're just going to resist those motions, always stabilizing the proximal segment. The goofy one in all of that is abductor, right? Because with the abductor pollicis longus, you're going to press on the metacarpal, and the brevis, you're going to press on the phalanx. Okay? So remember flexion and extension together, and then remember that abduction is opposite. Okay? So I'd like you to practice adductor pollicis, abductor pollicis longus and brevis, flexor pollicis longus and brevis, extensor pollicis longus and brevis.
Can you go over flexion, extension, and abduction real quick?
Sure. So all of them?
Okay.
Yeah, just extension and abduction, basically.
For abduction, go ahead and stick your thumb up. So if I want to test longus, I'm going to press on the metacarpal. And if I want to test and relax,
Oh, I thought it was the proximal phalange.
that's going to be
And then
brevis. Brevis is the
I thought-
phalanx, and longus is the metacarpal for
Okay.
abductors.
Okay. Because it was.
Sorry.
Okay.
'Cause
So
that's
longus,
the one that's goofy in my
carpal,
mind.
metacarpal, brevis is
So
gonna
this is
Yeah.
abduction.
Yep.
This is
Extension.
and then flexion is this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Opponent's pollicis versus opponent's digiti minimi. The test is going to be pretty similar, except we're just going to be alternating which hand is our stabilizing hand and which hand is our resisting hand. So if I'm going to test, what does it say, opponent's pollicis first? So I'm going to stabilize the hypothenar eminence, right? And Erin, what I want you to do is try to cup your thumb over, yeah, just like that, perfect. Okay, now I want you to hold it there and don't let me pull it apart. And relax. Okay, so that would be opponent's pollicis. If I wanted to do opponent's digiti minimi, I'm going to grab the other side. And now what I'd like you to do is try to wrap that over my thumb. Can you bring it? Oh. Okay, I want you to hold it there and don't let me. So I can feel that he's really using his opponent's pollicis.
That's hard.
Yeah, right. I'm a tough nut. He's having to work hard to fight me. We also have his arm digging into the desk. Okay, and relax. So the only difference between opponent's pollicis and opponent's digiti minimi is I'm stabilizing with one hand. You heard the verbal instructions to wrap the IP joint straight, and you're resisting MCP flexion. So for flexor digiti minimi, you're on the proximal phalanx with the other joints of the finger straight, and you're resisting. Okay? So they're staying relatively straight. Okay? So for the digiti minimis, we have abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi. You're simply having them do the motion first and then apply resistance to the middle phalanx for the abduction and to the proximal phalanx for the flexion. Okay, can you flip